319! 319!
What is going on, Jets fans? We're here with you for another episode of the Green 19 Jets podcast. Once again, here with Will from the Hold My Helmet podcast. And we have some news. Garrett Wilson jumped on the Barton Hahn show earlier this week, and he let it be known what he thinks about the New York Jets offensive system. Now, Will, we know that Garrett Wilson has voiced his frustrations about how predictable the New York Jets offense can be, especially last season. Now, we know that he's saying that he feels like his route tree is a little bit less this year, interestingly enough, than it even was last year with the likes of Tim Boyle, Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, and all these quarterbacks who, really shouldn't be in the league. What are you thinking about what he said to Barton Hahn in this radio program? Do you think he has a point? Do you think that the Jets offense is very simplistic? What are your thoughts on all this?
Well, Charlie, yes, the Jets offense at its core has been a very simplistic offense since the beginning of last year. Yes, his route tree was a little different last year than this year. But you look at receivers like Davante Adams, Jamar Chase, maybe even the Mike Evans, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown. They beat double coverage. Okay, they beat double coverage. He hasn't topped 60 yards this season, so yes, I get him being frustrated. Maybe it has been a little different with Aaron Rodgers being back this season versus Zach Wilson and Tim Boyle last season. Maybe it's a little bit of an adjustment. Maybe his routes have changed from because Nathaniel Hackett knew once Rodgers was out, okay, I really have to open up the playbook or we're going to lose the game. So maybe there was a little bit of an adjustment last season where they really opened up Garrett Wilson's route tree because they were like, we have to do something or we're going to lose. Now Rodgers is back. Rodgers wants Garrett Wilson to run specific routes. And yes, he's getting double covered a lot. But a lot of elite receivers, Charlie, beat that double coverage down the field. And he hasn't been doing that. So he's been winning some routes, but he hasn't been winning them enough. So I get his frustration. He's been a team player about this. If that's the worst comment he's made, I really don't think that's that bad. But there's really no excuse at this point. He needs to go out there. He needs to perform like an elite receiver. Because right now he's top 15, but he hasn't been top 10, in my opinion. He's definitely top 15, though. He's probably around 13, maybe even 12 on a good day. But he hasn't been top 10. He really hasn't. And we talked about this last week. Yeah.
I pushed back last week in our first episode about Garrett Wilson, where I believed he was a top 10 receiver. After this past week, I had your little voice in the back of my head that Garrett Wilson is not a top 10 receiver. And you know what? I started believing your words. And you know what? I'm not giving up on Garrett Wilson. By no means am I doing that. I still believe in him as a receiver. Heck, I traded with – listen, you guys can make fun of me. I literally traded – Marvin Harrison Jr. for Garrett Wilson because you know what? I'm a person who likes to put my money where my mouth is.
He traded me Marvin Harrison Jr. for Garrett Wilson. I literally won a fantasy game this week because of that trade. So thank you, Charlie. I appreciate that.
I told him over text, it's a true story, that I'm out to help a fellow Jets fan.
I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. already is better than Garrett Wilson because he's not established yet, but I think by the end of the season he will be. That's the rate it's going at right now. I do think Garrett Wilson has the potential to be a top 10 receiver. He has high-end talent, but I don't know if it's his size. I don't know if it's just him not being able to win one-on-one. He does win a lot of one-on-one balls. He's very aggressive, but he doesn't. Is it a size thing? Is it just an alpha thing? I don't really know. Yeah. But like Davante Adams, we're going to get into this a little bit later in the episode, but Davante Adams wins that double coverage. So do you need Davante Adams now? You hear that he's on the trade market now, so...
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into that Davante Adams trade speculation that's going on throughout the league. There's going to be a lot of teams. There's going to be a lot of teams interested in the services of Davante Adams. One other interesting comment that Garrett Wilson made to Barton Hahn on ESPN New York is he mentioned that essentially when he watches football games on Sundays, and he says he watches a lot of football, he said he doesn't see the same things on offense that he sees on his own team. He said he sees different things being run, different things being experimented with, a lot of different variety, a lot of new things being tried. And he said he just doesn't see that being done within the offensive scheme of the New York Jets. Now, do you think that's something that maybe the New York Jets coaching staff takes into consideration when listening to the comments that Garrett Wilson said on the air. And the New York Jets know about these things when players come on air and air some dirty laundry. Do you think the Jets will take some of this seriously and really consider listening to some of Garrett Wilson's concerns?
Well, you actually have a very good point there. You don't see with the Jets offense, you don't see a lot of misdirections, not a lot of misconceptions, not a lot of motions. And look at Dallas, CeeDee Lamb. They try to get him involved no matter what. What do? They put him at running back. They give him reverses. Garrett Wilson, you said it yourself, Charlie. He's like Gumby. He gets a lot of yak. He knows how to move when he has the ball in his hands after the catch. So why don't you just give him the ball behind the line of scrimmage? Why don't you give him end arounds? Why don't you just line him up at running back? Give him a toss. Do something. Honestly,
yeah.
Good point. Like I've always been saying, Garrett Wilson, he's not elite. He's not. But why don't you just give him more opportunities? Yes, that's a very good point. They do it with Tyreek Hill too. Sometimes they put Tyreek Hill at running back and give him a little toss. Garrett Wilson can make people miss to the point where you could probably do that with him too. I know you have two really good running backs, but if you're really focused on getting him involved and you want to get him going, because he's an elite, he has high-end talent. He's an elite talent. Yeah, you give him that end around, give him that jet sweep, give him that toss from the backfield, line him up at running back and send him out on a wheel. Like, do something. Am I wrong there?
No, you're not wrong, and I think you make a good point when talking about giving Garrett Wilson more opportunities to touch the rock. I mean, honestly, one thing that we saw in the past game with the Broncos is that he caught a short pass in the first possession that the Jets had the ball, and what did he do? He holds the ball too loosely. We know that he does this. He's done this, all 3 years of his career, and then now in this one, and it's like, man, why is he holding the ball so loosely? He holds it out there for a defender just to swat it out of his hands and cause a fumble. I mean, and we see him do too much sometimes in these situations where he's 10 yards short of the first down and he's trying to get around, trying to go all the way around to try to make some space to get a first down. And sometimes when you're a player who's not doing everything that they think they should be doing when it comes to putting up numbers and stats, you tend to overcompensate and you tend to overthink things. And what happens with Garrett Wilson is he lets his frustration sometimes boil over, and then he tries to do too much, and then he ends up putting the ball on the ground.
Well, you actually make a good point there. I'm going to kind of pivot off what you're saying and add to it. Has he not gotten enough touches in his career where he's not used to holding the rock in a way? Like he's gotten a lot of volume, but if you really think about his career, he really hasn't gotten as much volume as a number one should. So he's just not used to those fumbles happening enough. I mean, he's fumbled a couple times in each of the first two seasons of his career. Yeah. But I almost feel like he hasn't had the ball enough to where he's been able to learn from that. So it's almost like he's compensating now because he's finally getting some kind of volume. So I almost don't blame it on him because he hasn't been used to having the ball. Honestly, he's not used to having the ball in open field. He really isn't.
Especially in traffic. There was a bunch of defenders around him there to just swat at the ball.
And when does he ever have the ball on a slant where he could just run? When was the last time you saw that from him?
We saw it in the Patriot game where he caught a nice slant from Aaron Rodgers. But, I do remember the one last year in the Cowboy game where he took one for 70 yards or whatever from Zach Wilson. No one was touching him, though, in that play.
That Dallas game, the last time before that, I can remember Garrett Wilson with 10 yards of open space. It was probably that Bears game, and he made 3 people miss, and then he was in the end zone.
I do remember a game against I almost said Oakland Raiders. Look at that, the Vegas Raiders, and Garrett Wilson caught one. It was one of the first plays of the game from Zach Wilson to Garrett Wilson. It was a nice 40-yard play actually. That's probably the last time I remember Garrett Wilson in space with the ball. But let's be real. Garrett Wilson is a receiver. Let's defend him a little bit in this way. He's had 2 straight 1,300-yard seasons with literally a traffic cone at quarterback.
I have to correct you there. He's never had a 1,300-yard season.
Maybe I misspoke on the number. 1,100. Yeah, that's what I meant. 1,100 yards. I was actually asking myself in my brain if it was 1,300 or 1,100.
No,
it's 1,100. Right. So he had back-to-back 1,100-yard seasons with a literal traffic cone at quarterback. Let's be real. This is the bottom tier of the quarterback world in the NFL.
That's why I'm worried, though.
Some of the players Garrett Wilson used.
Right.
Was thrown to.
That's why I'm a little worried, though, because it's almost like he got better quarterback play and he's regressed a little bit. He's regressed with his numbers. So
yeah, I think a part of the reason is
for 1,000 yards. It doesn't. I think he's on pace for 900 maybe. It's
Now,
true.
one interesting thing, there was an individual, I forget who, that he looked into some of the dynamics between Christian Watson and Aaron Rodgers, the rookie season of Christian Watson, when Rodgers had a lot of problems with the chemistry of his quarterbacks, and essentially, some of the things being said was that some of these younger receivers, rookie receivers, or receivers who are just new to Aaron Rodgers' system, the way he does things, it gets very confusing. It could be a little bit overwhelming for a young receiver that hasn't been in that kind of system before. And apparently, it took to about, I want to say, week 7 to week 8, where Christian Watson and Rodgers were really starting to throw some of those go balls, some of those really nice balls to Christian Watson, and he was getting open and he was making really nice plays. So now you have a few people asking the question, hey, maybe we need to wait for week 7 or week 8 for these two to get on the same page, because they're so not on the same page. We saw at the end of the game, Aaron Rodgers had Garrett Wilson open over the middle of the field, but Garrett Wilson was running was going straight, and Aaron Rodgers needed him to turn towards the numbers, and he didn't do the post the way that Aaron Rodgers wanted him to do the post there. He didn't really quite do a post at all in that situation. And Aaron Rodgers, you saw him put his hand on his helmet, he was like, oh. And he gave him that, crazy eye look, like, Garrett, man, that was it right there. And, it's frustrating when a quarterback and his best target are not on the same page. It can be extremely frustrating for a quarterback and a receiver.
And you see that he goes to Lazard more because he trusts him more right now, Charlie.
And you got the repertoire with him. He's got the chemistry with Lazard.
And all of a sudden, Lazard looks like a very important factor to this team. And he made a couple of mistakes in that game too. But Lazard, all of a sudden, you see how you get a little bit of confidence, and all of a sudden you're a different receiver, kind of. So once Garrett Wilson gets a little bit of confidence, maybe he turns into Christian Watson in the second half of that season. What was it?
That's what I'm hoping.
Because Christian Watson, that second half of that, he hasn't been the same player since Rodgers left. But that second half, his rookie year, he was scoring 3 touchdowns a game at one point.
Yeah, he was.
I remember him in the end zone doing this. So hopefully it's Garrett Wilson, because Garrett Wilson right now has 8 touchdowns in a little over 3 seasons now. A little over 2 seasons, I mean, now. 8 total touchdowns. So he hasn't been as much of a factor in the red zone as we would like. It's like you'd think that he's a man beater, that he would beat people in the red zone, but maybe they're not seeing him. But then he's not doing. It's a combination of stuff, like you said. He's not running the routes the way Rodgers wants him. Maybe Rodgers wants him to flatten the route in the middle of the end zone, and he's kind of taking it to the corner. That happens sometimes, because sometimes things are read routes, right? You see, if the defender goes one way, you go this way. If it goes the other way, you go the other way. Sometimes you read it wrong, or the quarterback reads it wrong. It happens all the time. Yeah,
it happens. Even amongst receivers that do have a good repertoire amongst each other, it does happen every now and again. And let's get to the next topic, and I do think that this intertwines pretty well with the whole Garrett Wilson situation when he was on the radio with Bart and Hahn, and that is there's been some crazy trade rumors happening today. There was also a source that came out that Davante Adams has requested a trade from the Raiders, and this comes at the heels of apparently the Raiders being open to trading Davante Adams for a second-round pick, as well as possibly other players involved in this trade as well. And listen, this is something I've been talking about. This is something I've been looking forward to. This is something the Jets wanted to do last season, but the Raiders were refusing to trade Davante Adams. There was a report that came out last season that the Jets were trying to do this. So, this is a long time coming, but here's the thing with Jets fans. This is the thing. We can't jump to a conclusion that automatically, because the Jets are interested, that means that we're automatically going to get Davante Adams. We have other teams that are involved at this or we think are going to be involved. I'm hearing rumblings about the Cleveland Browns. I'm hearing rumblings about the 49ers.
There's a lot of teams involved. The Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Bills, Charlie, the Buffalo Bills.
I'm hearing the Bills. I had a brain fart. The 49ers, the Bills, the Cowboys, all these different teams are setting their eyes on Davante Adams, and you know what? The Jets, of course, they are going to be at the top of anyone's list as possible destinations for a talent like Davante Adams, even at his age of 31. He's still a very good receiver at this point, takes really good care of his body. So you know what? As a Jets fan, I want Davante Adams. I feel like this guy can definitely open up our offense more. Right now, Mike Williams, he had a decent game, but he's still coming along. It's still early. But Mike Evans is also not Mike Evans. Mike Williams is obviously not Davante Adams. So we do need a guy that, like Davante Adams. I do think that he's somebody that is going to stretch the field for us. I do believe he's somebody that has that chemistry with Aaron Rodgers from his Green Bay days. And I do think that he can also, based upon the conversation we're just having about Garrett, can definitely take a person like Garrett Wilson, a player like Garrett Wilson, under his wing, kind of take him in, kind of mentor him, right? Kind of show him the ropes, take him to that next step. We know that Garrett Wilson, he has a few years under his belt, but there's always more to learn in the NFL. No one knows it all. So, Garrett Wilson can definitely bode well to have a guy like Davante Adams around to say, listen, this is the kind of thing Aaron Rodgers doesn't like. This is how he likes the route here. This is how he likes this route there. And, it really can pay dividends for a guy like Garrett Wilson. And I honestly think Garrett Wilson probably looks up to Davante. I remember that recently, like during the offseason, Garrett Wilson was asked, I believe it might have been another radio spot, he was asked about the possibility of Davante Adams coming to the Jets, and Garrett Wilson was like, man, I would receive that, man. I would receive that. I would absolutely love if Davante became a Jet, essentially. And now, Garrett Wilson can say things like that. He doesn't have to not say things like that. The coaching staff can't say things like that because it's tampering, but players can come out and they can voice like, oh yeah, man, I would love that player, whatever. Players go on podcasts all the time. They voice a lot of different opinions all the time. So that's not an issue. But I do think that if we can get Davante Adams, man, I definitely think we could take this next step, and we could be a little bit more of a contender that could be taken a little bit more seriously. I still have my concerns about the coaching. I still have my concerns about this offensive line, especially after seeing what I saw last week. I'm not totally concerned, but it's in my back pocket, the offensive line struggles. I understand the Broncos had a really, really good defensive line, so let's see how they do against the next week's team, and we'll get into that. That will be another video of the preview of next week's game. But listen, we need Davante Adams. We need him. This is what we've been waiting for as Jets fans. We've been waiting for this. We've been hearing the rumors for a long, long time. And you know what? I've talked enough. I'm going to give it over to Will and give me a little more of the thoughts that you have about Davante Adams possibly being traded to the New York Jets.
Well, Charlie, I'll take it another step forward. Not only do we need Davante Adams, the New York Jets are going to trade for Davante Adams. It's going to happen. You might as well already set it stone. And it's funny because last week you were pretty much saying, like, we need Davante Adams. I'm banking on us getting Davante Adams. And I told you, whoa, do not rely on it.
We can't bank on it, yeah.
And I told you, whoa, do not rely on getting Davante Adams. Why have I changed my tune, you ask? Well, I'll tell you right now why. You got Joe Douglas, you got Robert Saleh fighting for their jobs. Sometimes people are human beings. Sometimes you don't think about, oh, well, I need to save this draft pick for the next draft, or I need to save all these draft picks because 3 years from now I might need them. They're thinking, I'm going to get fired. I need to save my ass. How do I save my ass? Bring in Davante Adams. So the New York Jets are going to do whatever it takes to get Davante Adams into the damn building. And what does that mean? Davante Adams is probably going to be a New York Jet, Charlie. It's almost inevitable. I'm not trying to be crazy, make a hot take. It's probably going to happen. It's probably going to happen. And this will be huge for this team because they need Davante Adams. I 100% think this team needs Davante Adams. You get Davante Adams, it changes the whole complexity of your organization. Why? Aaron Rodgers is bringing back the all-pro receiver he had when he won back-to-back MVPs. You don't think it's going to hype him up? It's definitely going to hype him up. And like you said, you asked me, will he mentor Garrett Wilson? I think he's going to motivate Garrett Wilson. Yeah, you brought in someone else. You brought in someone else. You don't think I'm good enough? And I think Garrett Wilson plays more of the Devontae Smith role in that situation. I think Garrett Wilson and Devontae Smith are very similar. They're both high-end receivers that are high-end number twos, potentially. Garrett's on one right now, but if Devontae comes in, he'll be a high-end two. All the focus is going to be on Davante Adams, and guess who's going to be wide open? Garrett Wilson. So, I think this is almost inevitable. This might be a hot take. We might even end up making this a little bit of a TikTok or a reel. But Davante Adams is going to be a New York Jet.
I think so, too. I tried to... After last week, and after this loss that my soul dealt with, which was very hard damage to my soul because we should have won a game that we lost 10-9. I'm trying to be a little more level-headed at this point because I can't let myself get hurt this much. I have a mental health I need to worry about, and the Jets definitely do a number on that. Thank God for the New York Mets. Let's go Mets, yeah. Anyway, besides baseball, which this is not a baseball podcast,
Nice
but
little
still,
one they had though.
dude, let's go, baby.
Yeah,
Let's go.
we'll save that for.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe the New York Mets can show the Jets how to make the damn playoffs, right? And have a little clutchness.
Hey, and win a playoff game, man.
Yeah, let's go, man. Let's rub off. The Jet Met thing needs to become a thing, right? Very similar names, but not very similar.
Fun fact, Charlie: the Jets were named the Jets because they played in Shea Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
The airplanes coming out of LaGuardia, and because Jets rhyme with Mets, so the Jets are actually named partially because of the Mets. Like it was part of the reason they became the Jets. So.
And you know what's interesting? I keep hearing people say, "Oh, the Bills." Not to get into all this. The Bills are the only New York team.
Stop.
I call Bull. Want to know why I call Bill? I call Bull because the Bills are further away from New York City than the New York Jets are. People want to sit here and say the Brooklyn Nets are actually a New York team, but they're actually originated in New Jersey.
First off, Dallas plays in Arlington. Are they the Arlington Cowboys?
Exactly.
San Francisco plays in Santa Clara. Kansas City is in two different states. First off, they play in Missouri. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Buffalo is Canada's team. I know people. It's funny, Charlie. Actually, I want to bring this up right now. I want to go a little bit, not a little bit of a side rant.
Go on a tangent. It's okay. We're a podcast there. We can do it.
I know many people that go upstate to college, Oneonta, Buffalo, Binghamton. Don't give a shit about football. They come back. They're all Buffalo Bills fans. It's like a disease up there. They all turn into Bills fans. I don't know what it is. If it's something in the hick grass or something, but that's look.
They're closer to Canada than they are the city.
People don't realize because MetLife and Rogers kind of played into this a little bit and made it worse. Rogers, by the way, but MetLife is less than 10 miles from the city. It's the New York metropolitan area still.
Yeah.
It's still the city area. It's less than 10 miles from the city. It's right next to the city. It's right outside of it. People don't realize that.
So let's give a collective shut your mouth to Bills fans constantly telling us Jets fans that they are the real New York team. You are further away.
I'm tired of hearing it. It's not true. No one looks at Buffalo and gives a shit about Buffalo. First off, who cares? They are the lowest.
They don't even play in Buffalo. Their stadium's not in Buffalo.
It's in Orchard Park, Charlie. Good point. They play in Orchard Park. Are they the Orchard Park Bills? Good point.
No, but they wouldn't say that, of course.
Good
that
point.
would,
Very good point. Also, guess who's the lowest valued team in the league? The Buffalo Bills. So, guess who's the sixth highest? The Jets. Why? Because they have the New York label on them. So, who's really?
Well, we get to take our anger out on them in 2 weeks, but that'll be a preview of previews.
They're the New York Jets because they're based in Long Island, Queens. That's why they belong in Queens.
They started in Shea Stadium. Their foundations were the stomping grounds of the New York City.
We know they belong in Queens.
We do. And we're still praying that one day we're going to open our eyes and the New York Jets are going to be in Queens.
They opened that soccer city right next to Citi Field. I was pissed. I'm like, why would they? And there was that time.
That should have been the Jet Stadium. Should have been Jet Life right there.
There was the time when they were trying to get to the west side of Manhattan, and I think they like vetoed that, and they were just like not going to happen. But that was another thing. But anyway, another topic for another day. But screw you, Bills.
Yeah, you know what? I think the Jet fans will be completely fine with us going off script for that because that is something that really annoys most Jets fans. Let's be real. Dude, every time I hear it, I just cringe. I cringe whenever I see it on Facebook or any other social media
everyone
place.
That says that's trying to make some dumb fun fact and like there's some kind of stupid nerd. Like shut up. Like shut up.
Oh, don't you know the Bills are actually the only New York team?
Technically, fuck, man. It's really like annoying though. It's not like it drives me crazy. That is my
awful.
No,
dude.
I think that's a lot of Jets fans' pet peeves. And when Rogers said that, we're in New Jersey.
No, I didn't like. He was definitely poking the bear. He was poking the bear. He's trying to troll, bro. He's trying to troll.
No, but he is a California kid coming in and seeing like how he probably thinks that. He probably does. Like we play in New Jersey, like you know.
But the thing is, playing somewhere does not necessitate whatever. If I said that right,
regional fandom.
Where you are actually where your foundations are, where your roots are.
North Jersey, Giants fans. South Jersey, Eagles fans. No Jets fans. There's some Jets fans in Jersey, but most Jets fans are Long Island, Queens. Like that.
Most Long Island, Queens. Yeah, you're right. Okay, let's get into now.
That might be a video on its own, man.
Yeah, right. Let's get into Now, when it comes to Davante, in what way do you think the Jets' offense can possibly still struggle with some of the same things they're struggling now, even with Davante Adams? Do you think he's the cure?
That's a tough question because some of the running struggles with Breece Hall is just on Breece Hall. I think the passing struggles would minimize. I think it would take a game or two to adjust, but yes, I do think he would be somewhat of a cure to the passing game because Davante Adams, like I said, you double up Davante, Garrett Wilson could be wide open. Now you have multiple weapons, and don't forget about Mike Williams. Yes, Mike Williams is starting to slowly come on. You saw Mike Williams be more effective last week than Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Now you had Davante, Mike Williams, your 3. I'll sign up for that all day, Chuck.
That's a good 3. That's a really good 3.
Right. So now all of a sudden everything's looking slightly different, you know?
Yeah.
And let's just give Braylon Allen the rock. Just forget, like, I know who cares about this whole Breece Hall being a star. Like, just give it to whoever's hot.
Give it to the hot hand.
Because
I agree. That's my philosophy.
If Braylon Allen's the rookie, if anything, run him to the ground right now and save Breece for the playoffs, if we make the playoffs. But save Breece for that. You know what I mean? That makes more sense to me. But anyway.
Definitely.
Yes, he would be somewhat of a cure. And the Jets' offense would immediately be better. Maybe there would be one game rust, less adjustment, but yes, it would be somewhat of a cure. Not a full cure, but a very, very, very strong treatment. Let's put it that way.
Okay, one last topic. We'll leave Davante. We'll keep you guys updated on the Davante situation. The moment we hear breaking news, we'll try to make a video as quickly as possible for you guys about Davante Adams. But one more topic here. We had our first round rookie left tackle make his first ever NFL start. Let's get some reactions from both of us on how they think the young rookie fared in his first ever NFL start. Olu Fashanu, what'd you think, Will?
Well, the offensive line as a whole struggled. As a rookie coming in there for your first game, I don't necessarily think he played terribly. I think we're a little overreacting a little bit to the line. It was slippery. People are sliding over the place. I think Fashanu played decent for a rookie. I don't know if that's crazy to say because the line as a whole didn't play well, but I think Fashanu's going to be just fine in this league. I think he's going to be just fine. I actually think he's going to be Morgan Moses' replacement moving forward. Like, not this season, but after this season. I think Tyron Smith probably, we maybe re-sign him for one more year, but I think he's our right tackle of the future. Maybe eventually left tackle, but I think he was just fine. Look, he's a rookie. And you saw this with Andrew Thomas on the Giants. He's an all-pro now. His first year, he had some up and down games. You're going to see some tackles have some slight struggles. Did he get beaten on a couple pass blocks? Yes. Did he get beaten on every pass block? No, he didn't. He held his own. Did he struggle? Yes.
He gave up 2 pressures. That's not bad for a rookie.
It's
he
not.
gave up 2 pressures. Not bad at all. Now I have the opposite of you.
Did he give up a sack? I don't think he gave up a sack.
No, he didn't give up a sack. He just gave up 2 pressures.
That's what I'm saying.
I think Rodgers got rid of the ball. He got rid of the ball. Now I got the opposite of you. I think Tyron Smith. I think he's going to retire after this season. I do.
That'd be tough.
I do think. I do see some wear and tear on him. I do see him getting beat by speed once in a while. But once he gets his hands on you, once Tyron Smith gets his hands on you, his mittens on you, you're not going nowhere.
There's no one better in the league.
But if you're able to run and sprint around him and get away from him that way, you have a shot. And I've seen that quite a few times this season, him get beat by speed, and that's an age thing.
And that's huge, Charlie. Yeah. Fashanu has very good lateral quickness.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is like where I differed with you was I do think Tyron Smith is probably going to retire next season. I do think we're going to re-sign our right tackle. And I think Olu's going to move over to left tackle. That's what I think is going to happen. And right now we know that our right tackle's hurt. He's supposed to come back in about 4-ish games. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually think, Morgan Moses is already being injured. I think Fashanu kind of shores it up this year. Maybe he sits for a couple games once Moses comes back. And then Moses, either they cut him or he retires, goes somewhere else. I think Tyron Smith, we can bring him back for maybe one more one-year deal.
I would be opposed. Yeah.
You put Fashanu on the right, and then you move him to the left when Smith retires. So we're just like maybe a year off, but yeah.
Yeah. I do think there's some concern though because Olu always played at the collegiate level. He always played only left tackle. He played a few weeks at right tackle just in case there's an injury to Morgan Moses. So there are some people saying that he didn't look that great. He looked kind of uncomfortable because he's not exactly used to playing right tackle.
Look,
so
if you're like in your early 20s and you're an elite athlete, I would get if you're 37 playing 13 years of left tackle. But if you're a 23 move over the right tackle. Like, you're an athlete. Just, you can
adjust essentially at that age.
If you're Tyron Smith at whatever age he is, and they're telling you, hey, go to right tackle, and you haven't played right tackle in 12 years, that's a little
Oh,
different.
you're talking about Tyron Smith moving over to right tackle.
I'm saying how is a different scenario for Tyron Smith to do it.
Versus a young rookie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. When you've been doing it for 15 years and someone's like, okay, move the right tackle. No, screw you. But if you're a rookie, you should be interchangeable at this point. Yes, he should. No, there shouldn't be a problem. I think he's fine. I think he's done fine. I think he'll be just fine.
All right. Listen, we talked about Garrett Wilson. We talked about Davante Adams. And we talked about our prize rookie, Olu Fashanu.
And we shitted on Buffalo a little bit.
And we crapped on Buffalo, put a deuce on their head. But you know what? Hey, we're going to see them in 2 weeks. Bare knuckle fight, baby. Let's do it. It'll be a heavyweight fight.
You know how that chant, they're like, let's go, Buffalo. We should be like, I hate you, Buffalo.
Oh, yeah. I can't stand the Buffalo Bills. Listen, I don't care for anyone in our division. Let's be real.
It's funny because I used to feel bad for them. You know, they were like that shitty team that you felt bad for. Now they just annoy me because all of my friends that went to college and friends of friends are all Bills fans and didn't give a shit about them. If Josh Allen was in there and they sucked, no one would give a shit.
Nobody cared.
I bet you 10 years from now when he's gone, they suck. They're all just going to stop watching.
Yeah, they'll just, they're fair weather fans. Let's be real. They're just going to find another team to root for, whoever is the latest and greatest,
Right.
All right, that's all we got for you today. Thank you for joining us. Once again, this is Charlie, this is Will, and we are the Green 19 Jets podcast. Thanks so much again, and God bless.
Thanks, Charlie. Take care. Bye, guys.